All right, hey, it's Mr. G, and I'm here with Manny. And Manny graduated Memorial High School, what year?
2002.
2002, and he's got his own business doing package machines. And like the interview is basically because he graduated from this program when it was a full shop and it had lots of machines, including mills and lathes. And I just wanted to give people a perspective of an alumni coming back to visit, and he gives me advice on what I should do as a teacher and also how to do some good projects. So basically enough about me, okay? Okay, so Manny, what kind of stuff did you do when you were here?
So when I was here, the only two programs that were still being taught was auto shop and wood shop.
Let me go like this.
But the metal shop, or what's left of the metal shop that's behind us here, used to be full of equipment that was untouched for many years. Most of it dated back to the 40s. This shop used to be a training center, a night school for people that were going to work in the factories for the war effort.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a night school.
Yeah. Oh. So they used to teach the kids, metal shop during the day, and at night adults would come in here to be retrained or to learn a new trade to help out in the war effort.
Wow.
But anyways, so when I was here, the equipment was still here, but there was no program.
This is one of the machines, right?
This is one of the machines that was here. I think you've seen this in a previous Mr.G video. And so in order for me to use and learn this equipment, I had to pretty much pester Mr. Canito, which was the teacher here at the time. And he brought in Lachavo, which was the last guy that taught the metal program. So he came in a couple times, showed me how to run the stuff, and I would just come in here and tinker with it, learning it on my own. And what helped out a lot was that my family, I have machinists in my family, my grandfather and my uncle, so they helped out a whole lot with learning how to run all this stuff and all that. But yeah, so it was a little heartbreaking when the equipment went away. It's no longer here. We salvaged what we could.
So now, if you look around, not to interrupt you, but if you look around, there's pieces there's spots on the floor that represent, these were where the lathes were, right?
Each one of these blank pads here represents a lathe that used to be in its place. So
there's a lot of them.
There was 6 of them here, and there was a few more scattered about. That one back there being one of them that was not on a pad. These were smaller machines that were here, not much smaller.
And they all had power.
Yeah, they all had power.
These are live.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I've had water drop on that and then goes pop, pop, pop.
Well, that's not good.
No.
And there was also milling machines over here, some vertical milling machines. There was one there, there was one there. They had some foundry equipment, miniature stuff, so that kids can learn how to work with molten metal. And
look, I just noticed there's a shim.
Yeah.
That's still a shim. It's still sitting there. Wow. That might have been the mill. That's a pretty big pad.
Could have been.
Yeah.
And then this whole side over here was pretty much where all that molten metal situation was situated. Like you had
there was a hood, right?
Yeah, there was a extractor there, big hood that covered up the whole workspace.
You could almost see the line between the clean brick and the dusty brick.
Yeah.
So the hood was right there.
This is one of the recent acquirements. This was not here when I was here, but Mr. G behind the camera he's really into all this stuff. So he acquired one of these Paul Max machines, which, you know, is incredibly great for sheet metal work. You can do so much with one of these things. A lot of metal shaping capability here.
And this one's got history. This is from 1962, and it's got it was shipped over from Sweden, and it actually served time in a factory making Clarkey floor sanding machines. So I think they cut the sheet metal out of it for the covers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Pretty cool.
yeah. You know, and as far as the wood shop,
Over here.
as far as the wood shop goes, you know, that was always fully operational, and that was a really good program, and everything's still surviving in there. Thank goodness for that. And the auto shop, you know, I didn't really get much out of that. The program was kind of like on its way out when I was here. I used it as a tool resource to kind of, you know, if I had a project or something that I was doing where I needed a special automotive tool, you know, at least that was still there, and it still is, thanks to Mr.G here. It's taken a lot of initiative to kind of revive that whole program over there, and it's a lot. I think it's probably the best it's ever been in the history of school.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying.
But
It had a good foundation. Like there was stuff there. There's no proper lift, but it had a lot of stuff, and you just add stuff little by little, and now we have a welder, and now you can customize in there now. So it's a little bit different than just doing brake pads or something like that, or whatever the teacher was doing before.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that the administrators of the school system here are starting to realize the importance of these programs and put some funding back in them. And hopefully someday this room will be a bustling room of learning again.
After school, there's a STEM program now, and there's a lot going on. We have a robotics. We'll just do a quick, you know, over here is the robotics kind of arena, and that's a new program now. But there's a revamp with STEAM. They call it STEAM here, but it's STEM. Basically, they're trying to marry the college kids with the hands-on kids, which I don't think there's any separation at all, in my opinion. But in the schools, they kind of think of it in that way, and that acronym STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, it kind of puts it all together. It's great they have this acronym, but we've known that for years that, you know, college, no college, doesn't matter. You still have to learn how to use your hands to create stuff. At MIT, that was their mantra from the beginning, the mind and the hand. They put, their logo is as a craftsman, like an artist, sitting next to like an academic mathematician. And so they've known this for years, and they never went away from it. So they're really successful doing that. And they weren't the Ivy League school that they are now. They started out with a practical idea: put the artists with the academics, put them together. The usable arts, they called it.
Yeah.
So,
and I was a struggling academic student when I was in high school, and the programs that they had down here was what really got me through. I just had a mental block on the academic stuff. You know, I was a bad student in the sense that I didn't want to really apply myself too much in regular classes. I was more interested in applying mathematics, geometry, and et cetera, things like that into practical uses. So that's really the way I learned how to do basic algebra and geometry, was applying it in projects, making things. And there was some trigonometry involved in that too, which I never took a trigonometry course, but because I wanted to complete projects that were difficult for me at the time, because I wanted to learn, always pushing myself, I just grabbed trigonometry books and learned formulas that applied to what I was trying to do. And, you know, so everybody learns differently, and having outlets for different minds is really the goal here. And
yeah, everyone's different.
Exactly.
You know, the term machinist, like someone who can cut metal into a shape that's usable, really they're geometric. They're kind of like, they work in geometry. It's all about geometry to figure out the shapes. That's basically what you're doing, and then you're using them. It's geometry and materials, really. That's kind of like what a machinist. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go over to the other shops, but then I want to ask you about your current situation.
Okay.
So let's go to the shops, and then so we'll keep it rolling. This is a good shop tour, and I'll keep the camera down when we pass the kids. You know, it's just really, it's not about them today. It's just about, here's the wood shop. You've got a table saw. You got these are some wood lathes, really good ones too. Oliver. We've got an Oliver bandsaw, and there's lots of space to do work. We just got this is a joiner, and we got a new saw stop, and that's a safety table saw. And then it's locked right now, but in here there's 3D printers, and these little houses they use Arduino to program the lighting. So there's a lot of advanced stuff happening in the new STEAM initiative. I hope I didn't lock myself out over here. Oh, good, okay. All right, so now we're in the auto shop. The auto shop's kind of like a fabrication shop too. So we're fixing this table. It's got some cracked welds, and someone put a triangle on here, which clearly should have been taller. But that's okay, we'll get around to that. That's not why we're in here. So we're back at the auto shop. Let me give a quick tour of the auto shop.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I've added a lot of stuff. There's a media blaster. We've got some projects over here. There's a motorcycle in the corner. There's this is off of like one of those golf carts. We've got an electric motor in the corner there. This is an electric vehicle. I hope you guys have seen this in other videos. This is all custom built here with the students, and it drives and everything, and I could do a whole video about that. This one here is kind of half built. It's a Lotus 7 copy, and it's got it's gonna have an electric drivetrain, and we've got a TIG welder, which is the most modern way of doing the welding. We've got a MIG welder for starting out. There's all kinds of metal shaping tools, including rollers, and we also have the English wheel is over there. So this is an overview. I could get more detailed if you guys are interested in more details of the shop. We could totally do that. But I don't want to it's not really about the shop today. It's really, Manny came to visit, so I really want to talk to Manny more about, you know, his experience. So tell us, let me sit on this side. So tell me, what's your current situation, and how does it relate to your, you know, kind of your start here?
So currently operating my own business, and what we do is build custom packaging equipment, specifically what's called a form, fill, seal packaging machine. So to put it shortly, anything that you've ever bought that comes in a paper or a plastic bag sealed up with goods in it, that product came out of a machine similar to the one that I manufactured. Potato chips, soy sauce, ketchup, all the way up to bigger things like that. So it could be liquids, solids, etc., etc. But you know, my start here was really important. I had to have initiative. You know, I had a drive to really learn this stuff, even though the programs were kind of not what they are now. Ron's definitely doing a great job here with these kids now, and I wish I had that when I was here, but I'm not any less of a I didn't learn any less because of it. You know, I had the want.
So yeah, like if you want it,
Yeah.
and there's programs that are dwindling, you really got to take the initiative to seek out.
Sure, exactly, yeah. And even, you know, as a student, even though you have all this at your disposal, you shouldn't ever take anything for granted. You know, people that teach, I could definitely say this for sure, knowing teachers for a long time, being friends with teachers and all that, that if there's a student that is showing initiative and, you know, you have a need to stay after a little bit or whatever to do something that you need to do to learn, you know, they'll accommodate you. They are very accommodating people. They love doing this for a living.
Yeah, you know.
So, you know, and Ron's got, you know, he's got programs going on like that Lotus over there and all that stuff. These, you know, the club comes after school whenever that gets set up during the school year, and they put in a lot of work, a lot of time. But as far as, you know, my experience here and what I took out of it and how I got to where I am, having this stuff here was a huge help to me. To be able to learn all this stuff, I was able to get out of here and go into tech school. I think the first tech school I went to was Lincoln Tech for automotive technology, and learned a whole lot of stuff there.
Switch the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Learned a whole lot of stuff there, and I already went in there with a pretty good knowledge base on, you know, handling tools and different systems on vehicles and all that kind of thing, just from this library right here. Really, this was my number one source of information for the automotive industry, were all these old books.
That's so funny you point this out, because some people look at these books and they say, well, we should probably just throw these out. I mean, who's using them? But that's not the case. I mean, people use them.
Yeah, I'm really glad that no one's thrown them out and that no one threw them out when I was still here, because all these old books really pertain to much older automotive technology. But when you're learning cars or vehicles in general, you have to start with the basics. Mm-hmm. And these books, I mean, there's some stuff in there that's more modern, but the majority of them is really stuff that, you know, you would need to seek out that information when you're just getting into it.
Yeah.
So that
the
was,
fundamentals are the same.
Exactly. They don't
even
change.
if it's a new car.
Yeah, they don't change.
Right.
So that was a big help, and then having the wood shop, working in wood is not very dissimilar to working in metal. That sounds kind of nuts, but when you're trying to learn how to shape materials, it's a good learning base to know how to work with wood, because it's an easy material to work with modern equipment like they have in the wood shop. So how do I cut an angle on a board? How do I even cut a board? You know, how do I get the shape that I want out of this stock? It's basically the same thing that you're trying to achieve in a different material, no matter what it is. It could be wood, plastic, aluminum, steel, whatever. Mm-hmm. The tools that you're using are going to be different, but the principles are the same, right? So
that's a good base.
Yeah.
You know, let me go on this side. It's easier to hold. But basically, that's like you go into the wood shop and you're learning how to use the tools to cut, like you said, a stock. So it's a shape, and then you need to modify it for your needs, and you have to be structurally sound. And then the same applies within the machine, within the metal or automotive field. So you felt like you got a good base coming out of here.
Yeah, I felt like I got a good education on all the hands-on stuff coming out of here, and you know, went on to tech school, learned a whole lot more, and really where I did most of my career learning was on the job.
Right.
On the job training. So
Right.
I did a few apprenticeships. Did apprenticeships with machinists, which was my grandfather. Did another apprenticeship with a tool and die shop. seeing a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff. Just learning the way that industry does things, and just seeing all the modern techniques, and especially proprietary techniques. You get a lot out of places that you work. So I would tell any youngster out there that's looking to be an engineer or a mechanic or just anything where you're, designing or building, doing something with your hands, even if you're just sitting on the computer working on SolidWorks designing things. I think it's really important that when you're still young to hop around different jobs, do apprenticeships if you can afford to not get paid.
But jobs where you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not jobs where you just serve food.
No, don't go to a place where it's just going to be mundane work. You need to really try your best to get into a place that's going to be applicable to what your end goal is, right?
You're like, some kids, they get jobs at, like, let's say a fast food place, and I say that's great if you want to own a restaurant one day.
Right.
But if you don't, there's no reason for you to be there. So the kid's response is, well, I need money. But money comes and goes.
Right.
It really, if you had more money, you'd buy more stuff.
But not to devalue the food service industry, because
I'm saying you could own a restaurant one day.
For example, like I could definitely have used some more people skills. Now being a business owner, I not only do I have to design and build all this stuff, but I also got to sell it, right? And I don't think it's that difficult, but I could definitely benefit from a class in being personable.
Okay.
Because I could be irritable sometimes.
Me too.
So,
anyone who can't, right?
So that's a skill that you would learn in being a waiter or
that's
something,
true.
right?
I was a waiter.
There you go.
I was a waiter, and now I'm a teacher. Yeah. That was one of my previous jobs. My dad had a bakery, so we had to deal with New York customers. Are you kidding? If they're on the Upper West Side, if their bread's not ready, you're going to hear about it. They're not going to just go to the supermarket. They want that bread. So customer service and teaching. Yeah. So that's important. Every job you learn something at every job.
Yeah.
So if you're not learning and you're just doing the same thing every day, this is not a place where you should stay. Is basically the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else? Now, okay. So what advice? Okay, so this is really the pinnacle of the thing, and Manny comes back to visit all the time because he's an alumni and a friend of mine, and he cares about the perpetuation of giving back to the students. But my question is, what advice would you give to administrators and board members that want to know more? What direction should they go in, and what kind of value we know the value you get out of this, but in the future, what do you think? What would you add to this? If you were to talk to someone, they say, hey, what should we do with the shops? Basically.
Well, I don't know. I guess you could say I'm a little bit biased, but let's try to look at this from an objective point of view. That, like I mentioned earlier in the video, putting a lot more funding into these programs benefits all the students. Everybody from the top academic student down to the lowest performing student, and I'm almost certain that if you put low performing students in programs like this and where they can really apply themselves, you're gonna see their overall performance in school go up. Like I said before, I wasn't a really good academic student. But once I had an outlet to use, I'll just use math as an example because it's a good one. Once I found an outlet to use the math that they were trying to teach me, I applied myself a little more, and it showed. And I think that the whole STEM or STEAM direction is definitely a great thing. Really excited about that. But I think that to move forward here positively, I think that we need to physically have more space to get more students in here, get more guys in here like Ron or girls.
Yeah.
And the more people we can get into these programs, I think the better the school's gonna be overall.
Nice.
And there's already many examples of how successful something like that can be throughout the country, even right down the road, the high tech. You know,
Yeah.
that place is it's pretty great.
Yeah.
And you know, I was just talking to a financial aid person at NJIT about 3 days ago, and she deals with the low income kids that need help, and their school and their program is throwing a lot of money at these kids to keep them in there, and they struggle. They have a high dropout rate, and they're having a really big problem with the higher ups saying, well, we're not seeing enough results for the amount of money we're spending in this program. And after she got done with her whole spiel, I pretty much told her the problem's not your program. The problem is lack of preparation for your program. So if it's going to start anywhere, it should start right here.
Awesome. All right, that was fantastic. I hope people get something out of this video. Basically, you got the old tools and the new tools. You got the academic students and the non-academic students. They're all going to benefit from these programs. Me myself, I never had this program. I used to scrounge around I used to go to junkyards and I would just look at the parts to learn something. I was desperate to learn. And so I think that it serves a variety of people, and I think the main point that you're talking about, it all comes down to competitive edge. If you give kids something like this in their base learning, when they're first learning out, they learn how to use their hands, they're solving problems, they're making stuff work, they're manipulating metal and wood, and they're figuring out stuff. When they get to college or a job, they're going to have a little bit of an edge that they needed to come out of a neighborhood that might not have that many opportunities. And so that's it. It basically comes down to competition. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, that's basically it. And throw some comments below if you want to see any other things in the shop. And I hope it wasn't too long, but the purpose of the video is to give you a nice overview of talking to an alumni and seeing the shop. So, all right, thanks for watching. I'm Mr.G, that's Manny, and what's your name of your company?
Fresh Innovation Machine Co.
Nice.
Yeah.
And website? Not yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm going to help him with the website. We can do that this week.
Sure.
All right, see you later.